Hey everybody, this is Joseph, and today I want to speak about my battle with weight. The battle with trying to keep it off, trying to lose it. It's been going on for over 40 years, and I might just lose a couple pounds today because this is the hottest, most humid day of the summer. It's really bad. But anyways, I want to go back to when I was 17. I was a skinny kid growing up, and at 17, I was at 155, 6 foot. But when I turned 18, my metabolism changed. My diet didn't change. I still ate the same food I was eating, but my metabolism did change, and I started putting on weight. And when I turned 18, or somewhere late in 18, I I got to 180 pounds. So I put on a good 25 pounds in about a year. And about 4 years later, when I turned 22, I had a work-related injury. My job sent me to their doctor, and while I was there, of course, they weighed me. And that's what I remember the most. When I got on the scale, I saw 213 pounds, which shocked me. I knew I had put on weight. I didn't think I'd put on that much. Because just 5 years earlier, I was 155 pounds. Now I'm 213 pounds. So I immediately looked into losing it. I wanted to find a diet that I could lose it kind of quick. So I found the most famous diet in the world, which is counting calories. And I read somewhere that if you picked your desired weight, times it by 12, you'll hit your goal. And so I did that, except I even reduced the calories even more. And I did. I hit 177. So I lost 36 pounds in a little over 4 months. I felt great. I had to buy new clothes. So I didn't keep it off, of course. I pretty much quickly got off the counting calories, and I slowly started putting it back on. Um, Within about a year and a half, I had hit 200 pounds. And I kept it around 200 pounds up until the early 90s. And then I started putting on more weight. And I floated, I think, around 210, 215 through most of the 90s. But by the early 2000s, I had hit 220, 225. And I floated around there through the rest of the most of the 2000s. Near the end of the 2000s, I got up to 235. So I was slowly, steadily putting on weight. Still eating basically the same way. I did go through periods where I tried to lose weight, counted calories for a few weeks, a month. I just hated it, and I just couldn't sustain it. So I would do that little yo-yoing, you know. But then in the early 2000s, around 2011 through 2013, I hit 267 pounds. Most I ever weighed. That's my highest. Um, and it was bad. I had a big belly, which was primarily due, believe it or not, to drinking milk. I don't. For those who don't know, milk can give you a beer belly. The old-fashioned beer belly. Well, milk can do that too. And because I was a milkaholic, I always said, I drank a minimum of a half a gallon a day for decades. I drank it with every meal. I don't care what I ate. It could have been steak, could have been a burger, chicken. I had milk. Um, some meals like pizza, I love to have chocolate milk with it. I had the big belly, um, and I just felt miserable. But I didn't really try to lose weight at that point, but I did get more active. And when I got more active, I naturally lost about 12 to 13 pounds. So then I went down about 253, 255, and I sustained that for about 5 years. Um, to the 2020 hit, and like I said, I was still around 253, 255, but I said enough was enough. I was still having trouble like bending over and tying my shoe. I could tie it, but I could feel the pressure on my belly. I was sweating all the time. My blood pressure was high. So I went on YouTube to look for the quickest way to lose weight. Not the best way, just the quickest way. And I came across this really, what I think, in my opinion, a stupid diet. Not a very, I think, healthy diet, but I did it anyways, and I did lose weight. Um, I took on this diet called the apple and rice diet, white rice and apples, twice a day. A bowl of rice, an apple, twice a day. I did that for 16 days, and ironically, I lost 16 pounds. And my wife, being a type 1 diabetic, told me how stupid this diet was. It's all sugar. And she was right. It's all sugar. It's not good for you. Um, but I kicked off my diet. So I went looking for something a lot more healthier. And, I discovered something I already knew. I just never really did it. And that was to cut back on ultra processed foods or any processed foods, which is what I did. I stopped buying anything in a box. I stopped buying things in a bag, from chips, to TV dinners, to hamburger helper, anything in a box and a bag. I just put a stop to it. And not really realizing I was kind of adopting like a dirty keto, but I still indulged here and there in some things. But by knocking off the processed foods, I went from the 236 I was at after the rice diet. I went all the way down to about 213, which was great. Just knocking off ultra processed foods. But it took about a year slowly to get down to that weight, and I sustained it. And I sustained it for another year. I really didn't lose much more. I hovered around 212, and then I discovered the carnivore diet slash also ketovore. And it was an uncle and an aunt that introduced it to me. And they're much older than me, and they were on this diet, and they were raving about it, telling me I can just eat a steak a day, uh, or any meat. Red meat was best, or I can have a pork chop or some bacon. I don't eat a whole lot of bacon, and I could lose some weight that way. And I did. I started to lose weight, and then I found out about intermittent fasting. So I incorporated that, which I started with an 18 and 6, which is 18 hours not eating and 6 hours your window of eating. And I was eating 2 meals a day, mostly protein. Um, and I also it was at this time I gave up milk. I had cut it back considerably, but this time I just went cold turkey. I just gave it up. And I haven't had milk in 2 years, which is, people who know me, my wife's just amazed by that, because I was truly addicted with it since I was like 16. So that helped a lot. It also helped that I started exercising more. I started doing a lot of sit-ups, a lot of V sit-ups. I started lifting weights. And then I increased my intermittent fasting to 20 hours a day with a 4-hour window. And then I just went to what's called OMAD, 1 meal a day. So I basically 1 meal a day now. Sometimes I'll have two, but I'll eat like a small meal, like a late morning, like a breakfast, just some sausage or something. But it's mostly 1 meal a day. It's usually steak, something big like that. And I don't get that hungry. Um, and so with that, and then I incorporated some long-term fasting, um, my first fast was a water fast for 4 days. That helped me get me down to about 193. And then about 2 months later, I did a 5-day fast along with my carnivore diet. Then I got down to 187. And then a few months later, I really did a long fast for me. I did a 6-day water fast, and that got me down to 179. But I didn't stay there. I went back up to 187, and I sustained that for about 8 or 9 months. And then this year came around, and I slowly put on about 5 pounds. I've been staying there for the past few months, but I'm going to get it back down. I am going to go on another fast. And I haven't been I haven't been able to work out this year because I did strain an arm a few months back. So I haven't been working out like I was. I do want to get back into that. The sit-ups are no problem. I can do those no problem. So that's pretty much where I stand today. I've been hovering around the 192 mark most of this year. And like I said, I plan to get down to a lower weight. I feel great. My blood pressure is perfect. I do still take my blood pressure medicine. Sometimes my blood pressure does run a little low. I did try to get off of it for a while, but it kind of went up a little. So I kind of doing it like every day, every other day. Um, like I said, I feel incredible. I feel nice and strong. On a side note, I had a good 40 years of heartburn and GERD. That all went away, all gone. I had another probably 35, 40 years of headaches where I took aspirin and then Advil all the time. That went away. So I rarely ever get a headache. If I do, it's very minor. Um, I do have to add salt to my diet because otherwise my salt level goes down. So I add good salt like Redmond salt, sea salt. So that's one good thing about this diet. I can add a lot of salt, a lot of flavor, which is great. So there's a lot of benefits to it. I know there's some controversy on some of the things about carnivore diet, which we'll touch upon in other areas like your cholesterol, your LDL. But I don't worry about that. My labs look great. Um, my kidney function is great. For those who are wondering, who may have saw my last video about me losing a kidney. Um, my protein is fine. I'm not spilling protein. So I think there's a lot of myth there about too much protein. And I don't eat that many carbs. Maybe once in a while I'll have something with carbs in it. Carbs are not an essential food, but fat and protein is. So that's where I am today. That's where I stand. Um, I'll probably do a whole video on the carnivore diet later on. My wife, who's a type 1 diabetic, she does ketovore, which is a carnivore with benefits. You can have more dairy, good cheese, some creams, heavy whipping cream, good sour cream, stuff like that. And she has some vegetables. She will eat some fruit, which is the berries, that's allowed, and some nuts like pistachios, which I'll eat sometimes, pistachios. Macadamians are good. So that's about all I have today. I'll do other videos on this subject, on diet, way we eat, and I'll keep you updated on my weight loss or gain. Hopefully no more gain. So I appreciate everyone stopping by. It's really hot, as you can tell right now, so I'm messing up my words. Just can't wait to get out of here. So I'll talk to everybody soon. You take care, and thank you for stopping by.